Why plate lickers aren't your problem and what actually is. That is what I'm going to be talking about today with Chris Holman, Master Certified Coach, the Executive Coach at Horse's Mouth, the leader of our Discovery Meeting workshop that's coming right up, and the author of the newly released book, Discovery Shift. So, Chris, you're taking aim here at this term plate licker right away. So what does this label actually reveal when it's used?
Plate liquor. Let's take a look at that, Doug. So, what it reveals is disappointment. The term pretends to describe prospect behavior, but here's what it really does. It really describes the advisor's unmet expectation. Someone attended an event, a lunch, a dinner, what have you, and they chose not to continue. That's not deception. That's their choice. The label plate liquor relocates frustration so the advisor doesn't really have to examine the process too closely. Well, ambiguity is uncomfortable. So when someone doesn't want to continue, when a prospect doesn't want to continue, advisors can treat that as data, as information, or they can explain it away with a story. Stories ease the discomfort. They protect the advisor from asking whether anything meaningful was actually asked of the person in the room.
This, people want results, right? Advisors want to bring on a client from that initial meeting. But you say that non-continuation is not a failure. So, why do you think that idea meets such resistance?
Well, Doug, I think this. I think effort gets confused with entitlement. Advisors assume that if they presented well and they followed their process, continuation should follow naturally. In reality, even excellent seminars and discovery meetings, they all have drop off. That's not a failure. It's a cost of doing business.
Okay, and we've been kind of talking about two different things here with, dinner seminars and discovery meetings. But I think you're making a parallel here between them, that there a lot in common is shared between them. And in terms of flaws, what do you think the shared flaws are between the two?
Doug, thanks for drawing a distinction. Yeah, yes, we talked about plate liquors, and it does refer to an event where food is served. But the parallel and the shared flaw between that and discovery meetings is this. Both are designed for consumption, not selection. Information flows smoothly in both. Politeness dominates. No one has to think. The prospect doesn't have to think, pause, or name what actually feels unresolved for them. And when nothing is tested early, the fit stays ambiguous, and confusion shows up later.
And I find something a little confusing maybe in that you've argued, Chris, that, politeness and smoothness can actually sabotage discovery, which seems counterintuitive. So how is that the case?
Doug, I think it does. And the politeness we're talking about, we all are familiar with it in human conversation and human interaction. In discovery, politeness allows everyone to behave well without really deciding anything. Prospects can nod, they can listen, they can leave the same. Advisors can explain without learning whether the person actually wants a deeper conversation. Smooth running replaces clarity. And the meeting feels good, but it fails to sort anything out.
So is it kind of allowing the prospect or the potential client to kind of turn their brain off a little bit and just kind of go with the flow. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's not designed for thinking. And I maintain that in discovery meetings, you want the advisor wants to think. They want to use their curiosity and think, and you want the prospect to think. You want to ask them a question that they don't know off the top of their head, where they pause and they're silent. That silence is good. It means they're thinking, and you want that.
Okay, but you don't want pressure necessarily. I mean, do you think that this push to demand more, I guess, is one way to put it, of the prospect, won't this scare people away? This approach versus, the smooth, the polished, the polite.
Yes, it does, and that's the whole point. The one, the ones who leave, they were never opting into real discovery anyway. They were not opting to a real conversation. They weren't opting into being honest and open with you, with the advisor. The ones who stay are clearer, calmer, more deliberate. That's what you want. You want clients like that.
Mm, mm. And you've described discovery as a selection environment. So what's actually being selected?
Readiness, willingness to engage uncertainty, willingness to think, a willingness to not know necessarily, the capacity to think instead of consume. Advisors are always selecting for these traits, whether they realize it or not. Most just misinterpret the results.
And then kind of another counterintuitive take, Chris, is that you say, silence on the part of the would-be client, hesitation, right? Opting out. These aren't necessarily problems, but signals. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
You bet. Here's what happens when you have silence, hesitation, things like that. The prospect is showing that thinking is happening. And when advisors rush to fill that up, to fill the silence or rescue the hesitation, they erase the data, so to speak. You want to allow those moments to happen. It lets discovery do the job.
And I know you have a sort of a tip here in your seminars, which is to explicitly name participation early. So could you talk a little bit more about like what you mean by that and why this changes the room?
You bet. You want to tell people in the room that it's okay. Um, it's okay necessarily not to make a choice. It removes ambiguity when advisors name the difference between listening and participating. And you're saying to the room, look, you can listen, you can participate, your choice. The folks you're talking to, now we're talking about an event, they have to decide how they're showing up. No pressure, you're not judging them. You want clarity in the room. Some will listen and leave. That's okay. Others lean in. Both outcomes make sense. And that's where the selection happens. You want to work with the people who lean in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well let's kind of go full circle and come back to the term that we titled this stream with and led the discussion off with, which is plate liquor. So of
Mm.
course the writer in me loves the term plate liquor because it feels like such an evocative, a word that brings powerful imagery to mind. It sounds so effective, but I know that you suggest that this term can almost be a scapegoat. What do you think that advisors have to confront to stop using this term plate liquor in the way that they tend to?
Doug, I love using the word scapegoat because that's exactly what's happening. Advisors would have to look at whether their process ever required engagement or judgment on the part of the person you're meeting with. The labels disappear when discovery actually sorts this out. When people decide for themselves Nothing needs to be explained away.
Okay. Well, Chris, you have a workshop coming up. Let me go ahead and put the call to action on the screen here so that I can see the dates.
Yeah.
It's February 9th and 10th. People, you can go to horsesmouth.com/discovery to learn more and sign up. And just quickly, Chris, this is basically a primer on how to deliver in detail, how to deliver effective, higher converting discovery meetings, right?
Higher converting, but not just that.
Yeah.
Higher converting, more effective in building the business. And here's what I would say, just to wrap things up, Doug. I've listened to hundreds of discovery meetings. So many of them are surface level.
Hmm.
They don't go deep. They're intake focused. The future of discovery isn't that, and the future of prospects are not that. So if you want to future-proof your practice and look forward somewhat, join us.
Okay. That's great. We'll leave it there.